All right, here we go. Oh, we have waited a long time for this moment. The premiere, finally, of the first ever live-action Star Wars television series. This is something we've been promised for quite a while. If you remember, George Lucas, after production wrapped up on Revenge of the Sith, he started talking about a live-action series. Got so far as trying to build a new studio out there until, he was given a hard time by some, let's say, landlubbers. And he said, all right, fine. I'm done. Retired. You can have it. But he played around with animation, of course, the Clone Wars, and then the big sale to Disney. But this is it. We have been waiting so long. Really, I mean, if you count, maybe decades? The promise of a live-action Star Wars television series, and then to find out that it was going to be helmed by guys like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, in a time where you have so much Star Wars content out there, from the films to a brand new chronology in terms of the tie-in material, a brand new timeline. So much to discuss, and we're so glad that you are here to join us for the first episode of Rebel Force Radio Mandalorian After Show. And in case you were worried or wondering, I'm not alone. Of course, I have with me my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Mando heads. Yeah, I'm still working on that. I'm still workshopping my new intro for our Mandalorian after show. But I'm real happy to be here because you're right, Jason. It does seem like we've been waiting forever for a live action Star Wars series. We never knew where it would actually end up dropping. I thought maybe HBO would have been a place for it. But now we're in this new age where the studios are taking full control over the distribution of all of their material. And with this Disney Plus app, that's exactly what's happening. And there's just so much to say about this new era of Star Wars that we've just entered into. Was it worth the wait? Hell yeah, it was. What a great show this turned out to be. Now, I'm not too surprised because, of course, we attended the
you're
Mandalorian
really wasting no
panel.
time. I mean, you are getting right into it. Capsule Judgment.
Yeah, I mean, what else is it? We've been waiting. We've been waiting for a decade. I remember at Star Wars Celebration 3 in Indianapolis at the George Lucas event that happened there. They did 3 panels with George, and I went to the second panel. And during the first panel, George had announced that live action TV was something that was a priority for him and that he was working forward towards. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget being in that crowd and getting that news delivered by George Lucas himself. And just across the aisle from me, I remember there were a group of 3 or 4 fans. They were sitting there wearing like brown Jedi robes or what have you, when in Rome. But they all started chanting, no TV, no TV. And I was like, that's so weird because the year was 2005. Revenge of the Sith was happening. And to us, it seemed like that was the end of Star Wars in many different ways, shapes, and forms. But George announced during that panel in Indianapolis, Star Wars Celebration 3, he announced that live action TV is going to happen. Mm-hmm. An early target date for it was 2009. That was an early target date.
There was a poster that was at Toy Fair that had the future of Star Wars laid out, and it was the Clone Wars, and the Force Unleashed. The Force Unleashed, right? And then there was the live action TV series. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just called Star Wars TV series or something like that. But you remember the artwork, how it had the years and the different projects.
Yeah. And the image that was there next to the live action TV series was Boba Fett's helmet. So it's only appropriate that this first series we're getting is about a Mandalorian. Essentially, this is where Boba Fett has led us to.
Right. I mean, this is probably an amalgam of obviously new ideas, new concepts, but some of the leftover concepts from the 1138 video game, the shelved TV series, and perhaps even the live action Boba Fett film.
It was 1313 was the video.
What did I call it? 1138?
1138. That's fine. It's still
that's my Star Wars number, right?
Yeah, you're not disqualified from the podcast because it was a solid Star Wars number. But
that's right. 1313.
Yeah, that's what that was all about. And so that was the series known as Star Wars Underworld.
Yeah.
Star Wars Underworld. And Rick McCallum let that working title slip at some point during its pre-production. And then George Lucas appeared in Chicago at the Museum of Science and Industry for a fundraiser and made an announcement to the crowd. He did a Q&A. And someone asked him, and he said, it's on the shelf. And then when Star Tours opened, he let everyone know that they had 50 scripts, and they were all just sitting there gathering dust because he couldn't figure out a way to feasibly fund this kind of ambitious television series. So here we are now, fast forward 10 years from that targeted release date of 2009.
Yeah, better late than never, right? It's the 10th anniversary of the series that never was.
And Boba Fett was supposed to be a big player in that 1313 video game. So I imagine his story may have spilled into the Star Wars Underworld TV series as well. We still don't know. But at the very least, I think we're seeing some concepts develop for Star Wars Underworld appear in The Mandalorian. And again, like you said, the trashed Trank project,
right,
which was a Boba Fett film. And then, of course, there was another, wasn't James Mangold pegged to direct a Boba Fett film? That was a rumor around the same time that it was being rumored Stephen Daldry was going to do a Kenobi film. And then that was a couple of summers ago. And then Bob Iger said, no, we're not.
And Joe Johnston was making a play for a Boba Fett film at the time that John Knoll was pitching Rogue One.
Even before that, because I remember when Joe Johnston was on the talk show tour circuit for the Captain America film that he directed, that's when he was dropping hints that if Star Wars were to proceed, he would like to see a Boba Fett film happen. This was still when George Lucas owned the company, though. And
what happened? I think Jimmy Mack froze. I hope that's just Jimmy Mack and not everything. All right, Jimmy Mack is frozen in time. Let's see if he comes back. But some of you are already asking for the phone number because we wanted to make this different from some of the other after shows that we've done. And we go all the way back in our podcast adventures to the Clone Wars film. And we started, I think we actually started doing, we definitely did a round table on the Clone Wars film, and then each episode of the Clone Wars, and then Rebels. And we kind of stopped short of Resistance, but we could probably do, I don't know, good half hour on that entire series. But at any rate, we wanted to make this one different, and that is with a call-in show. So we're going to go ahead and we'll put the number up on the screen right now, 708-866-1737. That's 708-866-1737. Get in the queue to come on the show, and we want you to tell us what you thought of this new episode, this new series and the first episode of the new series. So again, that number is 708-866-1737. I think we have Mac back. There he is.
Yeah, I'm back. He's
back. All right, just fix your microphone, and then we'll be good to go.
Roger.
Oh God, listen to that.
Is that bad?
Yeah. Just got to fix the mic. You're coming through the other one. There you go.
There we go.
That's it. Sorry,
all right. Sorry, everyone. I don't know what happened there.
Gremlins.
Gremlins in the studio, little Mandalorian gremlins. But surprises. Let's talk about surprises right away.
Well, the big surprise or all the little ones along the way? By the way, this show, for everybody who's listening,
I wasn't surprised by what we said.
Well, but you spoiled yourself. But here's the thing, guys. Spoiler alert, okay? Well, I'm not even going to play it because you've been warned. These shows are going to be released within hours, hopefully, of the premiere of each episode of The Mandalorian. And there's no apologies for getting in and deep with these episodes. So you've been warned. If you haven't watched, don't blame us if we spoil it for you.
And it's total BS that people in the UK have to wait until March for the launch of Disney+.
I thought that was a joke. Is that for real?
It's terrible. It is terrible. There is no place on the planet outside of North America that has a larger concentration of Star Wars fans than the United Kingdom. And for them to get shut out of this is just disgusting. It's awful. It's horrible. I don't know what all of the technical aspects of making an international launch of an app, a streaming app, happen, but I do think that the people in the UK are totally getting screwed over in this, and the app shouldn't have launched until all of the decks were cleared, and it could be launched internationally for our UK fans out there. So
there's got to be look. Here's the thing, and I'm not making excuses for the big corporation. They don't want to not have the European market like that. It's something weird had to have happened. Some sort of licensing issue. We all know all the copyright laws and IP laws are different in Europe as they are in the States. Even Canada has some different laws. This was not a diss. I don't think. I think this was a matter of, look, we can either. In fact, I would say that it was probably a later development. They didn't realize up until, I would assume, fairly recently that they weren't going to be able to do at least a European and North American launch of this thing. But to your point, Jim, I mean, almost a year. That's a long time to wait.
Well, not
7 months or whatever it is, half year.
Yeah. So that just sucks. So on the weekly RFR, which will be happening, just not this week. This week is all about The Mandalorian. We have 2 Mandalorian after shows happening. This one following episode 1, and then Friday night following episode 2. The weekly show, the weekly RFR, will return next week. And you'll get both in the Mandalorian after show and the weekly RFR. But in the weekly shows, we are going to try our hardest to avoid any spoilers with our UK audience in mind. So that's a lot of people have been asking about that. So that's something I'd like to make happen. So surprises with the Mandalorian. The first thing that surprised me is that the episode was only 39 minutes. It filled the time perfectly. But I thought they would have taken full advantage of hour-long programming blocks. But I think what they're doing is trying to make the run times of these episodes compatible with other Disney network, cable network.
I don't know. Here's my theory on this. I don't think that, and I could be wrong, but I don't think that every episode is going to be the same amount of time. What I think they've done essentially is I think they have shot and edited. Well, not shot, but they have edited down 8 hours of The Mandalorian. And I think they're going to take these breaks in between episodes where it feels right. I think that this is probably the shortest episode that we'll get. And who knows, the season finale could be, maybe it's going to be an hour and 15 minutes. Who knows? That's what I think.
I don't think they're working off of a one big chunk like that, because you're dealing with different directors for each episode. So I don't see how that could actually happen. I think we'll see consistent 40-minute episodes, which I did not
39-minute episodes. Who has a 39-minute episode? I mean, that's not a standard time for anything. Has anybody checked to see if the other new series that launched have a 39-minute time frame, like that High School Musical, the show?
No, we assumed you were going to do that.
No, it just seems too odd to me. A 39 minute just doesn't make any sense. It definitely left me wanting more. I was surprised by it too. So here's my experience. Jim, the last I heard from you last night was that you were going to set your alarm for 5 a.m. Central.
Yeah.
And did you?
No. I would have liked to, but I didn't. I ended up getting up at 7 a.m.
Call yourself
Central.
a Star Wars fan.
Well, I just, ran into some sleep issues with a cold I think I'm contracting, and all right. I got it from Wendy, and
not for your excuses.
Yeah. So I did it. I wanted to, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah, so I had heard that the app was going to drop at midnight, then the series was going to drop at 6 Eastern, but now I'm hearing that several people were able to watch the first episode with 3 hours left over on the counter at the Disney Plus website. That was still showing 3 hours until launch, and people were able to get it. So, yeah. So
I was sleeping then also.
Yeah, me too. But then I got up this morning, and I saw it, and I downloaded the app on all my devices, my Apple TV, my iPad, my iPhone, and I just kept staring at it all day. But I had promised the kids, because here's the method to the madness. I want to get them excited about this series. And I've been showing them trailers. I've been showing them the behind-the-scenes stuff. When I got back from Celebration Chicago, showed them all the bootlegged footage that we weren't supposed to take at the big panel. So I got them psyched, and I had to follow through on my promise that I wouldn't watch it until I watched it with them. And Jimmy's shaking his head.
Yeah, I mean, because really, what are you thinking here? I had a lot.
I'm thinking
of fun.
I had a great time watching it with my kids. I had a great time.
Well, that's great. That's great. But I've seen it 5 times.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it twice.
Going into this conversation, and how were you able to watch it twice? Oh, you watched it with them and then ran down into your office there and fired it up again? Or?
Well, I was, I told you, I'm Mr. Mom this week.
That's right. I was
away for the week, so I'm pulling double duty. So I watched it with the kids, put them to bed, then watched it again while I cleaned up the kitchen and did the dishes.
Okay, good, perfect. So I just want to make sure you're not watching it in the car.
No.
Listen, I don't even care about your personal safety anymore. I'm way over that. But what I do care about is you having a quality viewing experience. And
Yes.
The Mandalorian is the type of show that delivers a quality viewing experience. So my first surprise was that it was only 39 minutes. Yeah. My second surprise is that the Mandalorian is not isolated and alone. He's not the last of his warrior race. He's not.
You think we're going to see him? Do you think Favreau's going to insert himself into this thing?
Oh, I don't think so.
In the warrior race.
It would be hard to do because Pre Vizsla was killed off during the Clone War.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And Favreau.
Bless his heart. I don't think he's fitting into any Mandalorian armor anytime soon.
Pull off the Beskar armor. But that
depends on how flexible that Beskar is.
Hey, listen, when we get in our 50s, we're just happy to get out of bed in the morning.
That's right.
So that surprised me, though. And there is an active Mandalorian culture still happening.
Yeah.
You see, when he goes to that blacksmith, you see Mandalorian children. They don't remove their helmets. That's a new element to the Mandalorian. The Death Watch had no problem taking their helmets off. The people of Mandalore that were under the Duchess Satine and her rule, they didn't even wear helmets. So this helmet thing, the T-shaped visor thing, has become kind of a religious thing. It almost seems like the Mandalorians have been beaten down. I mean, they got roughed up by the Jedi. They got roughed up by Darth Maul and his criminal syndicate, and they got roughed up by the Empire. So just that there's anything of their culture that's still left, they have embraced and amplified to the point where a lot of this stuff has now become religious. It's not like,
yeah,
it when you think about the stuff that Pre Vizsla was talking about, and he was talking about honoring the past and the traditions of the past. But it seems like the Mandalorians that we meet in this series are more focused on almost and I think it will evolve until we see it like a spiritual edge. It feels like with the symbolic.
It's very ritualistic with the forging of the armor out of the Beskar.
Yeah.
And also this idea that there's apparently a lot of displaced Mandalorians. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of this charitable, philanthropic, adopt a child in need sort of thing going on.
Yeah.
I don't mean to belittle it, but what does the Mandalorian say? He was a foundling. He calls himself. So
right.
That's interesting. So these people are picking up the pieces of their culture, and so it makes sense that they would be perhaps, because they've been displaced, maybe even more fundamentalist or extreme about it, because they're trying to rebuild, perhaps.
Yeah, and they have suffered the ravages of war and oppression, and so I think that's more kind of what drives this group of Mandalorians. Like you said, it's revealed the Mandalorian himself, the man with no name, because they ask him, she asked him about his signet, and he says he doesn't have one. And so that's when, we'll eventually see him get his name and purpose and all of that.
Yeah, so that's when he becomes, I would assume, part of a clan, maybe? Or is the clan system at this point not in place?
I don't know. Yeah. Wow. So, like, you're going to expanded universe Mandalorian.
Well, I'm going to Clone Wars.
There's
Clan Vizsla.
That's right.
There was Clan.
It sure was.
Right.
I think he is part of a clan, but he, like, his identity, he's not been given an identity really by the clan. He was given up. So, being a foundling, that's like when someone leaves the baby at the hospital, or Moses, you push him down the river in a little raft. And so, it's, you get rid of, a parent would get rid of his kid to be raised by someone else.
Right. Now, they did refer to a tribe as opposed to clan. So, clan could be something from more, Mandalore, and then these folks that have been scattered about. What did they call about the purge? Was that what it was, or the siege? What was it that they referred to? I think it was the purge.
I don't know.
After the what resulted in him becoming a foundling. I think it was the purge.
Yeah. What was it? I think it's. You can hear TIE fighters flying overhead in those flashback scenes.
Yes, yeah.
So it's an imperial thing. It's an imperial occupation that drove this kid, the parents of this kid, to hand him off in hopes of a better future. So I think these Mandalorians, they all live like, it's an underground existence, It's not easily accessible by outsiders. Yeah. And it was really interesting when they walked in there and you'd see the kids running around with the helmets on, and Nick Nolte says, no, it wasn't Nick Nolte. It was the blue guy with the fins at the beginning.
I hated that guy.
I loved him. I loved him. He was great.
Man, that was like Star Trek: The Next Generation.
It was. Yeah.
It was so next gen. Because
there was something about
in Star Wars. Here's the thing, guys. In Star Wars, if they look weird, they sound weird. Okay. Period. In Star Wars, if they look weird, they sound weird. They don't sound like you and me. I mean, now some of that's been broken a little bit in the sequel trilogy where they've got, the hillbilly guy. He's like, I don't know. They just came on down here. What was it? Joseph Gordon-Levitt and the worst Southern hillbilly accent ever. And then it gets put into a Star Wars movie. But I loved when it opened in the Cantina was speaking Huttese. That was, I was like, oh, that's Star Wars, baby. And then all of a sudden they meet this blue dude, and he's like, well, hello there. I mean, he just sounded like forgive me, but like the whitest, plainest, most vanilla.
I kind of liked it because, I mean, you talk about those people that are speaking Huttese. They were like normal looking dudes, It's like bald guy with a beard, and then all of a sudden the exotic looking guy sounds totally normal. I liked him, and but I get where you're coming from, Jason, because while I was watching it, there was something I was saying, this is different right here. But for you to slap this Star Trek tag on it, boy, I think that's totally really appropriate. He's right out of Next Generation season 2. This guy, he really is.
Okay, at least he's not season 1. Right, he's season 2. That's when the show became watchable.
No,
yeah.
Stay on target. Stay on target.
Why don't we do our Picard after show?
But it was that character helped bring out a lot of the introduction of the Mandalorian character, because he doesn't say much, and this guy wouldn't shut up about molting and evacuating his thorax. And
by the way, is it a vac tube or a back tube?
Vac tube.
Oh, it's a vac tube. I thought it was back, like as in Bacta. Like they use Bacta to flush their poop as well.
No, nobody's doing it. Well, they talk about how these ships are dumping their gray hold at the port, and that was attracting the monsters under the icy surface. And so that's why I think he said gray hold. That one speeder driver who looked like Chuck Wendig, that guy actually is a well-known comedian. He's a known comedian, that guy.
I thought it was David Letterman, the way he looks now.
No. But I saw Patton Oswalt was tweeting stuff to him. Congratulations, Star Wars. Yeah. So he's like, he's like a comedian, like a comedian's comedian. His only fans are other comedians. Listen, right. I don't know nothing about the guy. I don't want to disparage him.
I loved him. I thought the driver was great. We're talking about the driver, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just blue guy I didn't care for at all.
Oh, well, it was like I'm the exact opposite.
Oh, wow.
Blue guy I enjoy. The speeder driver not so much.
How about the mini freeze chamber? Now that was cool. It's like it's the portable model.
Miniaturized Cloud City Tabana freezing tech. Obviously something that bounty hunters added to their arsenal, following the news that Boba Fett froze Han Solo and he was hanging in Jabba's palace. Then I'm sure the market for Tabana freezing chambers completely went off the hook, Right. If you bought into stock in that in freezing chamber technology, you would have made a fortune, because all the bounty hunters probably purchased that after the Cloud City incident.
Yeah, well, it was definitely a Kickstarter there in the galaxy far, far away. You had to get a lot of backers for that, and they were all bounty hunters. I love the reveal of that. It felt like a horror movie. He's walking, you see the backs of the carbonite slabs.
Hey, how about that?
He's starting to get suspicious. Then he turns, and even though we're very used to seeing, Han's face in carbonite, it was so creepy. It was so eerie. Just there was see the anguished faces. Yeah.
A young guy or girl, I couldn't tell.
It looked like a young girl, right?
And then the third one was a bearded dude. I swear to God, it was George Lucas.
I'm with you.
It was George Lucas.
I think it was George. I really do think that was George.
That will probably be revealed in some sort of StarWars.com episode guide.
Now, doesn't Steve Sansweet have a George Lucas in carbonite? I think Steve does. Somebody made one, or made a few, and I think Steve was one that got one. I think George was presented another one, because I know George was also a big fan of the Jar Jar in Carbonite.
Yeah. Well, he's got one hanging up there at the Presidio Lucasfilm headquarters.
Yeah,
we're there in a reception area in one of the buildings.
So,
but okay, so that was George Lucas. So I wasn't seeing things. I liked at the beginning that little piece they had. It was like animated and showed iconic Star Wars, like outlines of iconic imagery, like Vader's helmet, R2's dome.
It's like that flash that you see at the beginning of a Marvel film, where they show you the frames. Right. I thought that was really cool too.
We'll get used to seeing more of that.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of intros, I just throw this in there. I'm being told I haven't watched any of the features on Disney Plus, but the 20th Century Fox fanfare has been reinserted into the beginnings. So
now obviously it's not going to be in the front of TFA and TLJ and Solo. When those films, I mean, The Force Awakens is already there.
Yeah.
But there's no Fox fanfare in front of that.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. There wouldn't be, because it's not a Fox. Yeah. I'm sure it's not. But I tell you what, man, and I don't want to derail, because I know we want to talk all about Mandalorian, but I couldn't resist taking a look at how A New Hope looked in 4K.
Oh yeah, I had to do it.
Man, does that look good.
It does. It looks real nice and crisp. The sound is great. Mm-hmm. And, of course, everyone's buzzing about that Han Solo versus Greedo Cantina tweak. Here's a scene that's getting tweaked once again. Yeah. They can tweak it all they want, quite honestly, because, to me, only the original version exists in my own personal headcanon. Han shot first, biatches, and that's the way it's always going to be. But here we have audio, actually, Jason, of this new addition to the Han versus Greedo sequence. Now, it does keep intact the Harrison Ford head bob that he does, to avoid the blaster bolts. And it does appear that Han and Greedo kind of shoot at the same time. A lot of people are talking about the editing that goes that happens with how many frames the explosion itself contains. But in essence, the main thing about the scene, and we all know the audio from that scene like the back of our hands. So any addition to it is going to stick out like big time. And there is an additional piece of Greedo dialogue right before Han blasts him. So Greedo gets in the last word now.
Yeah.
So not only does Greedo shoot first, but he gets in the last word. This is crazy. But here's a little audio of that sequence. It goes on just a little bit longer than you're normally used to.
Yes, I bet you have. What are you talking about? What? I got a bad feeling about this. This is ridiculous.
It does kind of take away. I mean, it just...
Yeah, there's some with the pacing.
Yeah, it just lingers.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is really the best edition. Like I said, they can keep tweaking it all they want. The only version of that scene that will ever exist in my personal head canon is the edition from 1977. Han shot first. Don't you ever forget it.
That Han Solo head bob to the right, that's up there with CG Jabba. They just can't get it right.
Well, and
no matter what they do, they just
an incredible waste of time.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
That scene needs no alteration. It needs no editing. It's perfect as is. But the word is, it was George Lucas who oversaw the McConkie edit. That's what it's going to be known as now, the McConkie
How do we do? Seriously, is that word on the street? Is that George was
yeah
brought in?
But, now you know as well as I do, the 4K restoration of the films was well underway before
right. Yes.
Disney was sold off to Lucasfilm. As a matter of fact, we were at Lucasfilm headquarters when someone told us about that. Off the record, of course.
Right. And that's the transfer that would have been put onto a 3D.
Yeah, right.
That would have been converted to 3D.
Yes, you're absolutely right. McCunky.
The McClunky edit.
You know, give me the original Crate Dragon call from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Uh-huh.
Give me R2-D2 not hiding behind rocks. Give me Han shooting first. And you can take your McCunky and shove it up your ass.
I still don't know what George's hang up is. I mean, he created such an iconic character in Han Solo, and to just go back and apologize for his character so many years later, it's
so
really
lame.
It's really lame and really weak.
Just all this
this one's even worse. I mean, it's just the fact. I mean, they don't even translate McClunky for you. Every other word that he says is translated.
McClunky. Yes.
So why don't they translate it?
Yeah, right. What is he saying? Now,
right.
See, that's the thing we'll be debating for years to come now. What was Greedo's last word? What is McCunky? It has to be out there. Doesn't Sebulba say it at some point? Doesn't Jabba the Hutt say it at some point? We have to research this. We have to find.
No, I don't think
Star
anyone's
Wars
ever said it.
Who says McClunky and Huttese? He's out there. He's out there. We will bust this open. Investigative report opens now. We have a new Star Wars. There it is. Investigative report file has been opened. We're going to find the character that said McClunky, and we're going to figure out what the hell that means.
All right.
Because not nerds who speak a Klingon language fluently, This is stuff that we understand is all fictional and is being made up as it goes along.
There's somebody out there listening right now that's like, oh, please. Everyone knows McClunky.
Did you know McClunky? But you know what? I kind of think it's interesting just to even get that little one word extra second from Greedo. I mean, it's just interesting to see.
The voice doesn't even match, dude.
It
doesn't even match. It's so sloppy. Like, if that was a fan edit, we'd be laughing at it. Like, oh, nice try.
All right, now listen, things with the Disney Plus Star Wars releases, I was paying very close attention to the sound mixes, and we know that with different sound mixes for different films, you sometimes end up with dialogue being swapped in and out. Most notably, when the Swamp Dragon spits R2 out in Empire Strikes Back on Dagobah. Luke used to pick him up and say, "You're lucky you didn't taste very good," but now he says something like, "You're lucky to get out of there alive."
What?
I checked. That still exists. Yeah, that's been there since the Blu-ray.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that's been there since the Blu-ray.
You're lucky to be alive?
Yeah, you're lucky to get out of there alive or something. And then the one that I can't stand is after Vader's duel with Luke on Cloud City, and he's walking back with his stormtrooper contingency, and he says, he used to say, "Get my ship." And he was like real short and straight to the point, pissed off. You can feel it. Now he says, "Alert my Star Destroyer of my pending arrival, and I would like to have tea Earl Grey hot." It's like, I don't know. That doesn't feel like Star Wars to me.
All right.
But those changes, the only change I can find is that additional McClunky line from Greedo in these Disney 4K releases, or Disney Plus 4K releases. People have been saying that the lightsabers have been tweaked. There have been editions where Luke is training in the Millennium Falcon with Anakin's lightsaber for the first time, and the saber blade looks kind of greenish. That is not present in this transfer. However, you still can see that old reflective blade that would spin in the lightsaber hilts as Lucas was trying to establish how to make the lightsaber effect work. At one point, he had a rotating blade inside the lightsaber hilt that would spin and reflect the natural light on the set. And you can still kind of see the after effects of that special effect still in place. When I think, gosh, how tough can that be to paint over that? And they just never do. So look closely when Luke is training. At least his saber is blue. At least they fix that.
We'll have more about all of this on the next episode of Rebel Force Radio proper. But this is the Mandalorian After Show. So we'll have more about this in the coming weeks for sure. We'll have a long time to be able to watch all 6 of the all 9 eventually.
Yeah, I spent all day watching the Forces of Destiny shorts just on a loop all day. I was just like, oh, yeah.
All right, let's start off with how about, we know this guy, how about Cleveland Chris? Cleveland Chris is joining us right now, and I know it's late. He likes to go to bed early. But Chris, I know that you got to see this this morning, right? Because you were
good.
Or was this last night? Were you one of those 3 a.m. guys?
No, man, you know me. My bedtime's like 11 latest. So good evening, everybody. What's up, Jimmy? So I woke up super early. I was one of the 7 a.m. watchers. Yeah. So to anyone else that woke up super early, man, kudos to you. It was the best thing to do before work. It was like the early Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like. Yeah. It was pretty fun. So it was a blast. I watched it 7 a.m.
Did you have any problems with the streaming service itself?
No, that I don't, the thing was, I was telling people, I'm pretty sure Disney was strategically staggering, the kind of when we can download it. 'Cause you had to sign up to an email, to get a notification. Oh yeah, now you're ready to stream. I'm pretty sure they staggered it, East Coast, Midwest, West Coast. So it didn't overload, their servers. 'Cause it was perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Well, I have heard that there were some complaints and there were some issues with the app crashing earlier today.
I had trouble with the Amazon Fire Stick. I had trouble with that early in the first few hours. I had no problem with the iPad or anything iOS, but with the Amazon Fire, so I could watch it on my Sony TV, it was having trouble loading at first.
Yeah, I had it on the Apple TV, but I will say, I did a second rewatch when my girlfriend, she came home. We watched it later on. It definitely did kind of glitch out, and we were kind of playing around with the app, and we noticed that there's not a back button. So I watched the episode this morning. We went to go watch it again, and sometimes you can hit start from the beginning. And they don't have that that functionality built in yet. So you have to scrub all the way back. And on the Apple TV remote, it's not the most intuitive thing. Mm-hmm. But hopefully that's something they can get fixed, because I'm probably going to be rewatching these episodes multiple times.
So let's talk about the episode. Did you love it?
Dudes. Oh, I loved it. And you guys already hit on so much I wanted to talk about. But the one thing you guys were making me laugh about was the blue guy, right? The blue Star Trek dude. Yeah. That was the actor who played him. Yeah. It's Horatio Sands.
It was Horatio. And I knew it. I knew it. From Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. He was the dude that could never keep in character on Saturday Night Live. So it's only appropriate that he would deliver one of the most profoundly odd Star Wars voices in the universe now. But
terrible. Yeah, he was a better actor on Saturday Night Live. He was just awful. It was the only time in the show.
Stop.
The only time in the show when I was like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Just something's off here.
Yeah.
He wasn't that bad.
Oh,
I
terrible.
liked how these aliens didn't feel like latex masks, and that's how they felt in Return of the Jedi. There was much more life in these alien faces and personalities. Even the squid head, who got crunched by the door.
Amazing.
It was what an amazing effect. It's so incredible to see these classic characters brought to life in the year 2019, because there is so much happening, articulation with their facial structures and their eyes and everything.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, you know that emoji that has just the big eyes, like the surprise face? You know that emoji? That's what my kids looked like when that squid head got cut in half by that door. They were asking a million questions, and then that happened. It was just like pin drop.
Classic. Great stuff.
Yeah. Well,
great stuff. We got a lot of great alien characters in this.
Yeah. Yeah, loved it.
Absolutely. But, a couple of things that you guys didn't touch on that I was like very excited to see, because I'm a diehard Fett fanatic, diehard Mandalorian fanatic. I'm talking expanded universe, comics, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of, initially the callbacks I saw were they put their own spin on like the holiday special. Because, when they're escaping in the Razor Crest, you have that serpent creature coming through the ice, and he grabs that rifle.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the holiday special, the cartoon, where he smacks the beast with the wand, and it electrocutes him.
Right.
That totally, like right away, all right, holiday special, we're locked and loaded. This is incredible. So that made me happy. Obviously, the Life Day call out, that was kind of a little inserted.
I loved that. I thought that was brilliant. I thought actually officially pulling the holiday special, and we had clips of Filoni giving Favreau crap about that. We're back to the holiday special again. But hey, you know what? It brought us the Mandalorian's killer weapon with that bayonet on the end that helped him get his ship out of there.
Connective tissue, man.
No, it was amazing. But the whole, I remember watching that 11 minutes or whatever back at Celebration, because we actually got to go in the arena, we got to see the footage, and to actually see it now on the app, that cold open where it is pure Star Wars. I mean, that right away, that opening of this show is just so classic all the way through, the corn that gets sliced and he grabs the bounty. But that whole opening with the Kubaz and his little flute, and he hit like, that was such a nice touchstone for some of the old school fans.
Oh.
I never thought that I would ever see another Kubaz like at all.
For all fans,
Star Wars.
Not just old school fans. I mean, Star Wars has a foundation, and Gorindin is part of that foundation. Let's face it. I just love seeing all of these familiar alien species in there, from the Nikto to the Kawakian monkey lizard to the, all the tropes. The power droid, the moisture evaporator. It seems like they drop that into everything now. But all those little, old school stormtroopers, for crying out loud. It's all there.
I love how beat up they are, which of course gives Hasbro a lot of options now for the different battle worn stormtroopers. Wait till we see all of those. Well, this guy's all scratched up in the back. This guy's all scratched up in the front. All those variants, I can see them. Jim, you mentioned the moisture evaporators. Our favorite Ugnaught, Queel, is a moisture farmer. I don't know if you knew this.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
He's a moisture farmer.
Now, I thought it was just too much of a real world touch to have that windmill out there. That was too much real world. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's my first nitpick of the Mandalorian is a windmill. But
another, along those lines of like another thing, like with one thing that we didn't see before, at all. And I don't know if you guys touched on this. I kind of jumped into the show a couple minutes after you started. One thing that we've never seen before, like we've seen we've seen different aliens, different iterations, but one thing we've never seen is a live action IG droid, assassin droid.
Yeah,
and,
watching that
you guys
thing in action.
You guys haven't even dove into that yet, man.
Not
that
yet.
was, to me,
IG-11.
that was
just seeing an IG droid.
The pinnacle.
I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. I might be dealing with a little bit of a delay here, so I apologize for that. But to see that
I think we're just all excited about it.
To see that droid in action, and have it exceed my wildest dreams for what one of those droids can do, because of course we've seen those things in the Clone Wars. We even saw them in the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars micro series, sort of a variation of the IG droid. They had the Lancer droid, which was definitely like an IG droid, but then you had the IG-86 in season 1 of the Clone Wars, and those things used to move around and stuff. But to see live action IG bounty hunting assassin droids in action like this one, and thank God, Takiti Watiti, whatever his name is, he did not deliver some kind of snarky ass personality. I'm tired of seeing that in Star Wars. It works. We know it works. But when it gets to the point where Lando Calrissian is having sex with his droid, I mean, enough is enough. I like the fact that this thing came off as a computer programmed thing. It was all about the processing, and it was very, very robotic.
Yes, very calculated.
And,
I think when you add all of these droids with big personality in Star Wars, it takes away the special quality that R2 and 3PO had in the first place. And they've kind of made it like George Lucas used to always say, droids are like kitchen appliances, like, it was toasters and blenders, and nobody cares. Nobody develops relationships with them. It doesn't happen. That's what made R2 and 3PO special, especially R2-D2. And now you have in the sequel trilogy that great moment where R2 and Luke get reunited on board the Falcon, and Luke understands droid beeps fluently. That's not how it, I mean, even someone like R2, they've twisted it so like droids are members of the family everywhere throughout the galaxy. Having this IG droid being cold-hearted, computerized, calculating, and lacking personality is perfect. That's what you want from your IG assassin droid.
No, you're right. Taika Waititi has a very pronounced New Zealand, accent because he's from New Zealand. But he didn't go full bore into it, right? He did just enough to where it is that kind of really beautiful, mechanized, unique voice. And you're right. Like he didn't over flourish anything. It was very cold.
It was perfect.
And it was perfect for being an assassin droid. And the dialogue, the interplay between the Mandalorian and the IG unit was hilarious, dude. The self-destruct mode and like pulling out the thermal detonator multiple times. I was laughing. I was rolling. It was good.
Awesome.
And it was so Star Wars. It was
so Star Wars.
Solo Chewie moment of the show. Right, like where that you have that fun little banter, but I hope we don't see the last of IG-11.
Well, I hope
the Mandalorian can.
But Chris, I don't know if you heard one of the more recent episodes. Jim was doing the IMDb breakdown, and a lot of these actors that are doing the Dog and Pony Show as being part of this cast are only credited with maybe one episode.
Right.
So the thing is this, IMDb, if you look right now, even the first episode isn't fully updated.
Yeah.
Like I just called out Horatio Sands. He's not listed there yet. So I really think that Disney is playing it very close to the chest. I think there's going to be a lot more surprises in this season. I was very happy to see that one of my predictions came true, that we were going to get some type of direct homage to either Boba Fett, Jasper Muriel, or like a Jodo Cast type, thing. So if you look, when he goes into that Mandalorian enclave, that second Mandalorian on the right-hand side, that is Boba Fett, Jasper Muriel's armor. So whether or not, that's going to play out in something, it's a nice Easter egg, because he even has that same motion from Return of the Jedi. If you go back and rewatch, I think it's like 15, 16 minutes into the show, he has that same exact turn that Boba Fett does, in Jabba's palace, but it's the same type of pronounced armor that Jasper Muriel Boba Fett had. Also, more so like the Kenner toy paint job. It's really pronounced, but you can tell like right away it's an homage to Boba Fett. Even has like a little dent in the helmet. So just for anyone that hasn't caught that yet, it's a nice little touchstone in that moment. But I really think that there's going to be, obviously canon or, the legends is all thrown out. I really want to see Favreau and Filoni bring in some type of the mythology of Mariel. Like, you guys were talking about clans earlier, tribes earlier. It'd be really interesting to see where this goes. We might not get Boba Fett, but we might get some type of clan Fett with someone from that clan being part of this show.
I shared a rumor with Swank. I shared a rumor with Swank I saw over the weekend, and it said that this episode was going to end with a shot of the Sarlacc, and you would see Boba Fett's hand reach out and start pulling himself up, and then it would cut to credits.
Like Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and that was the big rumored the rumored bombshell that we were supposed to get in this episode, but obviously that didn't happen. However, I mean, it could happen in a future episode, maybe just some things, but I mean, that's just something I read online. It's not like anything heard from any of our sources.
I thought that like the tail end cliffhanger of season 1 would have some type of Boba Fett interplay, because you guys already mentioned the 1313. They were trying to develop the Boba Fett movie. Regardless of what they put out there in interviews or whatever, this isn't a story about Boba Fett. I really truly believe you cannot have a Mandalorian-based show and not address whether or not he is alive or dead. Because in current canon, he is neither alive nor dead. So whether it's some type of verbal, I don't know.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. I'm going to have to push back on this a little bit, because I think outside of the Boba Fett Fandalorians out there, I don't think he's not a significant character in the Star Wars universe.
He's
certainly not significant to the Mandalorian culture, or he's not even a Mandalorian. He's just another bounty hunter. There's nothing special about this guy in universe.
Everything about this show singles back to Boba Fett in my book. I mean, but
I don't think it has to. It doesn't have to.
I think that it needs to be put to bed. Quite honestly, I think it needs to be put to bed. Maybe not bring back Boba Fett, but maybe seal his deal with the Sarlacc pit. Maybe have some sort of confirmation in there that he truly did die or he got out.
I thought the MacGuffin in this episode was going to be Boba Fett. That's who I thought the weak ways were going to be holding. I didn't think it was going to be or the Nicktoons. Sorry, I didn't think that it was going to be Yodel.
Yodel. Why do you call the baby Yodel?
Yeah, because we got to text our old buddy Shaz Bazaar. I think it's Yaddle and Yodel, or Yaddle and Yoda's baby, and it's Yodel. No. That's what Shaz Bazaar told me.
You can't have Yodeling. He needs to save that for Techno Retro Dad.
And if you remember right, we've got some audio of what we think could be Yoda and Yaddle together. If you remember, we've got some of those outtakes. Remember that for the pinball game?
No, that's not canon.
No, that's canon.
Is not canon. No,
that is.
Took a pledge. He took a pledge that his only attachment would be to the Force and to the Jedi Order. He lived as a monk. He did not.
Yeah, he lived in that monastery with Yaddle.
Anakin Skywalker about attachments in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, no, I think that's little baby Yodel, and the fact that it's an infant that's 50. I like this whole like dog years thing that they got going. Yeah. So like 50 is still an infant. So if 50 is an infant and Yoda's 900, that makes Yoda what, like 85?
No, not really. When you think about
No,
it,
not even.
because if an infant is 50, then the infant would be like a teenager at about the year at their 250th birthday. I think Yoda died young. Quite honestly,
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird that baby's 50, but it could be a clone. It could be a clone. Remember, the baby was in a weird sort of container. I mean, that, didn't look
Wasn't
like
that the same type of container that they found Stinky the Hut in? I think it is.
Oh, man.
I think that was what was, because there was a part of me, I remember when that opened, I'm like, oh, if this is even Stinky.
Stinky. The episode was far from stinky, my friend.
No, it wasn't at all. Hey, Chris. Hey, you know what? Maybe we can have you in studio with us next week because you're right up the road.
Yeah, man.
So, hey, thanks for hanging with us. We
Absolutely.
got another special guest that wants to join us. So, take care, buddy. We'll go get coffee
All right,
this
guys.
week.
Have a good night.
All right, bud.
I was surprised that Gina Carano was not in this episode. The way they rolled out the cast, it made it feel like this was going to be some sort of A-team. But, the Mandalorian, we've heard over and over again, is a lone gunslinger.
He is.
However, I do think we will see IG-11 again because IG-11 was taking great steps to obliterate himself should he be captured. So you can shoot the droid and probably still bring it back to life.
He's got a plan B. That's what I'm thinking. He's going to download that personality of his somewhere. And
hey, speaking of personalities, there's one thing he did that made me think of a classic, iconic robot from the history of science fiction. And I gave you a clip, Jason, where I sort of compare the two of them together. But there was one moment in the show where IG-11 reminded me of a great science fiction robot from years ago.
All right, let's see if I have this here. Hold on one second.
It should say IG-11 something. I can't remember what it was. I'm trying to take it out.
I got it right here.
Okay,
all right.
Good.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Alert. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. Danger.
Yes, robot.
Alert.
Robot, or as He-Man calls him, Robot.
But I was hearing, danger, Will Robinson, alert.
Yeah, it was a very old school kind of robot voice. I mean, it wasn't even really a droid voice. It was a robot voice. Yeah. That was cool. I love that too. But when he bit the dust there, I thought, well, that's kind of a shame. He's got his own action figure. Speaking of action figures, anybody see Captain Zuvio hanging out in the cantina?
I don't think so. Did you?
I thought I did. Anybody else see Zuvio with that big hat, the big stupid hat?
That character's in mothballs, man.
I don't know. I got to go back and freeze frame it. By the way, the live chat, they're yelling at us right now. Those that are listening to the show live, they're saying that we're ignoring them, that we're not looking at the live chat because
I have not been. No.
Because
this whole video thing is still kind of new for me. I'm an old school radio guy, and just the idea of being on camera is kind of weird. So to be looking at a live chat,
it's tough.
That's like amping it up. But I'm opening YouTube right now. I'm going to take a look at what you maniacs are saying.
They're all yelling about. They're yelling about McClunky. McClunky. They're saying
McClunky. They want to go back to McClunky.
They want to go back to McClunky
because Mandalorian after show. You're lucky we're even talking about McClunky.
Yep.
God, so entitled.
Yeah.
Go on.
So the proper spelling is Ma, like manure, Ma.
Yeah.
M-A, and then K-L-O-U-N-K-E-E, which translates to "it'll be the end of you." And Jim, you're right. It was said in the saga before. Apparently, Sebulba says it to Anakin in the Phantom Menace.
Sebulba, I knew it. I knew I had heard that somewhere.
Yeah. So, anyway, so there it is.
That's my favorite Huttese word is slaymo.
Yeah, McClunky. It'll be the
Staple.
end of you. So
Did
yeah,
you
we
say
get a
we had
little.
someone
We get
on
some
the
of
line?
that poetry that is the Phantom Menace dialogue thrown back in at us.
I like
the
Phantom Menace
Mandalorian.
dialogue. I like
Yeah.
everything about the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Love everything about it.
I don't love everything about it. I like it, but I don't love everything about it. And
I love everything.
I don't
about it.
remember that McClunky line.
Every minute, every McClunky minute of that. Didn't you say we had someone cool on?
Yeah,
the line?
we do. Let's get this guy. He might know what the McClunky is going on. Hello, Rebel Force Radio. Is this Kevin Lyle?
Oh, again, we
Hey,
just
what's
had
up,
you
guys?
on last week. Now what?
Yeah, you
Eric
did.
Butts is going to
Oh.
call next. Is he on hold? So here's last week's show.
No, Eric
again.
Butts is still a puddle on the floor after that Baby Yoda.
Well, I wonder what he
Can
thought
you
of that.
imagine?
That kid's head probably exploded all over his green screen apartment.
People were putting that on the internet all day today, and I got really angry. I couldn't believe people did that.
What?
That they put the picture of the Baby Yoda.
Oh, Baby Yoda.
online.
That's
It was
cool.
on Facebook.
I saw an article on some, I did a Google search for Mandalorian earlier this afternoon, and the Yoda spoiler just popped right up there. Was in a headline. I mean, come on, people. Let's let this stuff settle a little. Let's let fans have a chance to see it. Everyone has to be the first. We're all seeing the same show. We know the Yoda thing. You're not breaking news by being the first to blog about Baby Yoda.
All right, I love Baby Yoda.
Not only did they show the picture of Baby Yoda, they said that was the asset. Because that could easily just been a little Baby Yoda like in the background or something. But the person who posted it said it was the asset that the bounty hunter was looking for. And I'm like, he totally ruined the end of the show.
I want to get into this here,
of others.
but I've got an observation about Baby Yoda. Is that much like Uncle Owen just happens to be wearing the robes of the Jedi Knight? Yeah. What's with Baby Yoda wearing the robes of the Jedi Knight? He even has like the inner robes as well as the outer robes. I mean, I'm hoping there's a reason for this, but it's a little on the nose, don't you think? Like, we're not going to know what this thing is out of context, though it does look like those little things from Harry Potter.
Maybe Yoda's species has
like
something to do.
Jason, I did.
Maybe Yoda's species has something to do. No, I'm going to talk to him. Maybe Yoda's species has something to do with the actual origin of the Jedi Order itself.
Right. Well, we know nothing about Yoda species, obviously. Yeah. Right.
So maybe the robes themselves were something that was adapted by the Jedi Order because the original Jedi were of Yoda's species.
Now, our buddy Paul Bateman is throwing out, and I hope he doesn't mind if I say this, but he was throwing out Dalai Lama. So he's throwing out the idea of reincarnation. There's the possibility of a clone. Could Yoda have been cloned?
Holy crap!
Yeah. So this is heavy stuff. Kevin, what do you think? Are we looking at Lama? Are we looking at maybe a reincarnation? Are we looking at a clone, or are we just looking at another one of Yoda's species?
As an artist and as somebody who's painted and drawn Yoda more times than I could think, if you look at the picture of what this Baby Yoda looks like, and you look above his left eye, he's got like a little bump above his brow, and so did Yoda in that same exact spot.
What?
And that's just the first thing that kind of I noticed. And it made me think that maybe it is not just a Yoda species, but it is a Yo baby. It's a Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda. Wow. He's back.
But that could just be a coincidence. That could just be a design choice or whatever. But that kind of stuck out to me.
They claim this infant is 50 years old, so that would have crossed over with Yoda's lifespan.
Absolute. And Yaddle.
So, exactly. I guess.
And stop bringing up Yaddle. She has nothing to do with this. This is not the son of Yaddle.
We've only been introduced to two of Yoda's species. One male, one female. I'm just saying. One and one equals 2.
So 50 years. 50 years, if this is 5 years after Jedi, meaning it's 8 years after A New Hope. So it's about 45 years after The Phantom Menace. So this kid, if it's this baby, if it's 50 years old, would have been born, roughly speaking, 5 years before the Phantom Menace, before all this wars and stuff happened.
Yeah, before things kind of got rocky between Yoda and Yaddle.
No. I'm not buying it. I do like what you're saying, Kevin, though, where you notice some actual physical features in the face that's consistent with Yoda in this little infant. Oh, is that just the cutest little thing in the world?
They're going to sell a lot of toys, these.
But notice the eyes are all black, though. This could be like an evil.
They're very
baby.
brown. They're dark brown.
Yeah, that's Yoda didn't
Yoda's
quite
eyes
have
are like a green.
Yeah, his eyes are definitely
baby eyes are. I mean, they're all born with blue eyes until they change. Yeah.
But what baby? 50-year-old baby? What are we talking about here? You think this kid would have picked up something along the way? Probably drive a car.
I mean, you got to think about this. So when we thought that Yoda was 900 years old, this changes a lot. We thought that Yoda at 900, had seen it all and had lived it all, and he'd been an active Jedi for, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Now we find out the guy was like middle-aged.
Yeah. They've done the same thing with Chewbacca.
Whoa. Back up. Whoa. What's Yoda's middle-aged? Why is he middle-aged?
Well, think about it. Okay.
Think about a 50-year-old baby. I mean,
he's 900 years old.
Okay. So at 50...
He died of old age.
He's middle-aged. Middle-aged.
Do the math, though. Do the math. Okay, so 50 is the equivalent of... This is an infant, dude.
This is like
6 months. Let's say 6 months. So for every 50 years, it's 6 months.
So 900, Yoda died when he was like 18 years old.
Baby, you're also assuming this baby was in cryo-freezed itself or some other stasis.
Okay.
Oh, that's true. It was in that container. That's why I think it's a clone. This is a Yoda clone.
Yoda talks about how old he is and that he cannot avoid the inevitable. Strong he is in the Force, but not that strong, meaning he can't fight old age. He can fight Dooku, he can fight everybody else, but he can't fight old age. He clearly died of old age. Look at how old he was, how wrinkled he was.
That's true. That's true.
Bald almost.
No, he makes it very clear that he can't.
Baby's bald.
He can't outrace the
Yoda's not only did Yoda die of old age, he died of advanced old age. I think for his species, he was quite old.
Wow, I don't know.
That's how I always felt.
All right,
if Yoda middle-aged,
it's just weird to have the 50-year-old baby Yoda. That just seems like there needs to be some explaining here. Like, was the infant kept in some sort of cryogenic status or something? I don't know, but you can't put it past Star Wars. And also the cloning thing, I think, could come into play here as well. Maybe not.
Can you imagine?
Maybe this is a recently hatched clone, recently by 6 months or so, and that it was a clone that had been in a pod or whatever waiting for 50 years.
Can you imagine taking care of an infant for 50 years? I mean, I remember what it was like when they got out of diapers. That was like liberation.
Yeah,
but
right.
To be stuck with that for maybe 100 years.
No, that's when things start to break.
It's like, God, when is this kid gonna start using the vac tube by himself to evacuate his thorax?
Oh, all right. So Kevin,
forever.
I want to get your perspective because everyone knows that you're my favorite Star Wars artist, and so you're a guy that expresses himself.
My favorite's Ralph McQuarrie, and you can suck it, Kevin.
Yeah, I can agree with that one.
No, Kevin, you are actually a very, very, very talented artist. I mean, so much so that J.J. Abrams gave you an award.
Yes, he did. Well, he was on a commission of people that gave me an award, but yes, I did.
Yeah, but he had the most. He carried the most weight among that commission.
Right. I believe the award was for creepiest selfie. Creepiest selfie went to.
Well, first of all, you're not supposed to tell anybody about that selfie because that selfie's not for the public. But that selfie.
Kevin's in selfies with people that didn't even know he was in the selfie. It's like a career.
Well, if you never noticed, when I do live panels at conventions, like I will be at EmpireCon the first weekend of December, by the way. When I always take my cell phone and I do selfies with them when they don't know I'm taking the picture. And sometimes I get caught and sometimes I don't. but I do that.
Well,
but,
give us
the JJ selfie. That's something else.
I'm looking for 3 highlights from this first episode from Kevin Lyle. What were the 3 big highlights for you?
Well, definitely the Yoda scene.
Mm-hmm. Baby Yoda.
That was a shocker. Even though I knew it was coming, it still was a shocker.
How did you know it was coming? Because you listened to Rebel Force Radio, and we got
because some jerk put it on Facebook.
Oh, jerk!
But anyway, so
jerk put it on
another one that I like.
What's that?
When they were when IG-11 and the Mandalorian were taking out that little village of Nicktoos, and when they finally took them all out, and there's this big door they couldn't get through, and they're like, "How are we gonna get through that door?" And they both just casually looked back at that big gun. I thought that was a funny scene. I thought that was really cool.
that led to the famous what was it, the bread, we called it the bread door.
Right, yeah.
So when I saw that, I thought we were looking at the beginning of that this was going to be a duo, that these two were going to work together.
I thought the same thing.
I was totally surprised when they shot him.
Yeah, like the A-Team. We have no Gina Carano. We have no Giancarlo Esposito. Mm-hmm. I thought there would be a crew with Grief Karga and Nick Nolte. I thought it was going to be some crew. But again,
Nick Nolte, he might still police up Nick Nolte. I mean, that might be part of, he might bring the baby back to Nick Nolte and be like, I need some help. And, I think he's there to stay, isn't he?
Nick?
Nick, the Quill.
I don't see how
he was looking for peace. He was looking for peace. He said he was there because he sought peace, and everyone else who had settled there sought peace. But there were these bounty hunters who were constantly trying to get that baby Yoda, and the Nicktoos were fortified in that encampment. And so every time...
Jason, or Jimmy, you're absolutely right. No time in Star Wars does anyone ever say, "No thanks, I don't want to go on your journey," and then 6 minutes later they're going on the journey. No one's ever done that in Star Wars. You're absolutely right.
I don't think I said that. Did I say that? I don't think I said that. But
like Luke said, Luke wanted to stay. Luke in 2 separate movies said, "Nah, no thanks, I don't want to join the Avengers." And then before you know it, he's part of the Avengers.
That's part of the Joseph Campbell hero's journey. Is the rejection?
Refuse the call.
Yeah. I mean, that's a classic step. You feel like your responsibility is with the life you've been living, not the new responsibility that's on your plate. So you naturally reject that because you'll be leaving behind your own life. And so that's a key part of the Joseph Campbell hero's journey. And so you love to see that stuff coming into play in new Star Wars. I see a lot of things that influence George Lucas showing up in this first episode of this series. The classic Western motif, the Japanese filmmaking of Akira Kurosawa, I felt was being heavily influenced in this show. So,
yeah, there was definitely a lot of Seven Samurai in this, and But
exactly.
Jason asked for three parts that I liked, and then a third part that I did like was the flashback that the Mandalorian had to a young child. That did a lot of things. First of all, it basically said, this is not going to be Boba Fett. This is not Boba Fett because he has a totally different childhood. He's much younger than Daniel Logan was in Attack of the Clones, and he's doing things that we know Boba Fett wasn't doing. He was with presumably his mother, and then I guess it looks like they were attacked by the droid army. Looked like they went in there because it looked like a droid gunship flew over them. So this must be some sort of.
We saw super battle droids. We saw super battle droids in there. In the background.
And that gunship. I'm ashamed to say it, but I can't remember the name of the gunship the droids had that you saw on Kashyyyk. But you clearly saw one of those fly over him. And then so that little scene, as quick as it was.
I'm looking at a still right here. Check this out. I'm looking at a still right now, and we've got Super Battle Droid on the heels of the Mando's parents. By the way, we've got some intrepid folks in our live chat that are saying that the actors portraying the parents are credited to 4 episodes, whereas Some of the others, like Carl Weathers, and are only in one. So we may have really jumped the gun.
That might just be. They might also be trying to hide.
It's true. Right. IMDb is not, it's like Wikipedia. It's crowdsourced, all that stuff. Hey, Kevin, thank you so much. We've got a huge roster of calls that we're wanting to get to. So appreciate it, man. And thanks again for the great artwork you did for our big event coming up on December 20th in Cleveland. Skywalker Rises in Ohio. It's a shame you can't be there, but you're there in spirit, having created the that iconography of the mashup between the Mandalorian. Mandalorian.
Thanks a lot.
Mandalorian on the brain.
You did help too. You kind of went back and forth. You helped me design that, if I remember correctly. I sent you a couple drafts, and we finalized it out. So you did help. I appreciate it. Well, thank you guys for letting me talk, and have a good night. I can't wait for Friday for episode 2.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Call us again. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, buddy. Now, Kevin and Cleveland Chris were given the VIP line. Hey, let's see what else we got out here. This one caught my mind. This is Brooke Baby Yoda. So how about this? Brooke Baby Yoda, you're on with Rebel Force Radio and the Mandalorian After Show. What's going on?
Hey, fellas, it's Brooks. How you doing?
Brooks, what's going on? So you changed your screen name to Baby Yoda.
I think that's what he wants to talk about.
Or is that what you want to talk about?
That was a topic I put in there, yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Baby Yoda.
So I got breaking news here. I'm thinking possibly that McCluffy or whatever is actually a janitor at the Jedi Temple that Yoda may or may not have had a brief affair with.
So that's what you're saying? That's what McClunky is?
Yeah.
McClunky is the illegitimate co-parent to Yoda of Baby Yoda.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
I like Yaddle.
Yeah, possibly.
Very solid.
Yaddle.
But in all seriousness, no, I did see the show a couple hours ago for the first time. Great show. I mean, just the fact that we're watching this like on our TVs in our home is a pretty cool thing, I think. So
it's amazing.
One thing that got me though, I was kind of curious. Like I was kind of expecting, as like Rogue One, when they go to a new planet, they would pop up what that planet is. But I don't think they really said what those planets were in this episode, did they?
None of the planets were named.
No, nothing identified. That's a little frustrating, That's a little frustrating. I would like to know where we're at in the galaxy. Here we are in another sand planet.
Yeah, sand planet's definitely Tatooine, though.
It sure feels that way.
Yeah, I was really thinking Tatooine. I mean, it seemed
planet,
like it.
when you see the Razor Crest come over the planet, I looked to my kids and I said, "Oh, they're going to Tatooine." It's just such a established look for the planet in orbit, or out of orbit, I guess. I'm saying Tatooine.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of like it'd be good to know where the Mandalorian people are hiding there. I mean, I'm guessing that's Tatooine. I mean, it looks like it. So
yeah, the one planet. Great point. Thanks a lot, Brooks. Appreciate it. We want to get to some more. How about, let's see, Amanda? Hi, on with Rebel Force Radio. Hello. We're talking Mandalorian.
Hello. You're talking to me? This is Gar.
Is Gar?
Gar.
Yeah.
Hey, Gar. I'm
Hey, yeah.
Gar. This is the translation. It's a very imperfect thing. These droids. We need 3PO to translate this stuff. But good to hear from you. What's on your mind tonight? Episode 1, Chapter 1
Hey,
of Mandalorian.
Yeah, a lot of things that jumped out in this awesome episode is the Beskar steel was interesting because, it's basically, it seems like it's the vibranium of this universe.
Right.
I always called it the, Mandalorian battle armor. It seemed like it was indestructible, but I didn't know, that it was made out of this specific metal that was very valuable. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to be seeing more Mandos at all, and there's a whole bunch of them, so that was kind of awesome.
Yeah. You know what I thought was interesting is when she was applying that pauldron made out of Beskar to his armor, it almost appeared like he had like circuitry of some sort underneath that his original pauldron. Like there, and I was like, oh my God, is the Mandalorian a droid? What's going on here? But no, he's not. Obviously, we saw flashbacks of him as a young child. But I was like, wow, what's that?
Maybe is that a prosthetic arm? Maybe.
Oh yeah,
maybe he has a
now
prosthetic
that could
arm.
be. That could be. We saw him almost lose his other arm to the blurg until Nick Nolte saved his ass. But I thought it was so interesting that he had some sort of high tech underneath that shoulder pauldron of his. You just got a brief glimpse of it.
Yeah. But what do you guys think of the music? I thought it was
Loved it.
awesome.
I did too. I was actually at the end of the episode. I was kind of humming that theme song. There were some musical cues that reminded me of others. Particularly, this had a sequel trilogy vibe to me on the soundtrack front, the score front.
Sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
I was picking up more of the touches from the Sergio Leone soundtracks that you get from the old. Spaghetti westerns, and we kind of heard that in some of the Boba Fett episodes of the Clone Wars, and Filoni was keen keen on that stuff for sure. You picked up on that too, Gar, right?
The Ennio Morricone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can. I love how the soundtrack is already out for the.
Yeah, it is on Apple Music.
Episode.
Yeah, you can stream it.
Yeah,
I've not kicked back and listened yet, but.
Yeah, Ludwig
I wonder
Göransson.
if they're going to be doing that for every episode.
Yeah, this is great, man. You know, and that kind of makes up for the lack of any sort of visual guides or tie-in novels or comics. I like to see the Mandalorian kind of breaking that sort, going against that grain a little bit, and just dropping the episodes on us without all this ancillary stuff around it.
Yeah, I don't need a lecture.
What's nice that it's once a week and not.
I'm with Jimmy. I don't need someone to create a little textbook for me to understand my Star Wars.
Right,
you don't need to
let it
explain
soak in.
and spoon feed me every little detail. That's what these podcasts and things like this are for, is to get together with your pals and talk it through and
So
talk
true.
about it. I don't want to be told necessarily I'm right or wrong about every little thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel about that, Gar? Do you feel like you need to be fully informed, or do you like the guessing game a little bit?
Oh, I mean, I like both. I like that we're getting these once a week, and it's not binge watching, because I think you're right. That's too much pressure to try to get through it without spoilers and everything.
Let the story breathe a little bit. Give us these moments of saying, what is that Yoda all about? I mean, that baby Yoda.
Exactly.
We need that. That's speculation is so much fun, and it's a very creative process to go through too. And I think it enriches our connection to the saga in a big way. Is to have these personal moments.
I gotta say that I mean, if you think this looks and sounds just like Star Wars, and every couple episodes is basically the length of a movie. If you think we're getting 8 of these, and we're getting The Rise of Skywalker, we're basically getting 5 Star Wars movies in the matter of 2 months.
Yeah.
What are they doing to us? It's feast or famine. That's one thing I've learned in my 42 years of Star Wars fandom. It's feast or famine. And there's definitely a lot of feasting going on here.
Well, Gar, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Let's jump here to how about who we got? We got Haley. I think this might be Haley from
hi.
Hi, Haley. How are you?
good. It's actually Ellie, but
Ellie.
my
Ellie.
other name is Haley.
Ellie. Wasn't
Well,
that the
thanks for
name of
rolling with
Lando's
it.
droid? Wasn't that the name of Lando's droid in Solo?
No,
L-E?
L3.
Oh, L3. Oh, thank you.
Not
Thank you.
LE.
Close.
All right.
Well, what'd you think of Mandalorian Chapter 1?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. Like, right out the gate, when it started, it, like, hooks you in. You're like, oh, my God, he spilled someone's drink. What's going to happen?
Been there, done that. But
so you like the environment that it puts you in right away. Very Star Warsy.
Yeah.
drops
Yeah.
you right.
Yeah, very Star Warsy. I agree when you guys were talking about the blue guy, though, because what I thought, I didn't really watch a lot of Star Trek growing up, but the Orville I watched, and the humor almost reminded me of that.
Oh, yeah. And Orville, of course, is a big takeoff, Next Generation.
For sure.
I'm with you on that. I mean, Jimmy wants to give this guy a friggin' Emmy award already.
I love him.
Horatio Sands is this
I thought he was good. I thought he was
completely miscast blue guy.
I just liked he was molting and needed to evacuate his thorax.
I loved his dialogue, but he should have had like a Lou Gossett Enemy Mine kind of gurgling. He was sort of an aqua.
He brought us a real world perspective on all the insane stuff that was happening.
But he
there
should have looked real world. He shouldn't have been an aquatic type.
I don't know.
Lizard.
I don't know.
Ellie, come on. Back me up on this.
He's got the sweet
Yeah, I feel
glands.
It threw me off because it made me think of someone dressed up as an alien versus an alien in Star Wars. Where if he had a voice that sounded like an alien, it would have brought me back into Star Wars.
I would have liked to have seen this sans Horatio. Let's put it that way.
Oh, come on.
Sans Horatio.
I'm gonna have a convention, a Star Wars convention, and
Does he have a name?
The only star that's going to be there is Horatio Sands. Yeah, he does. He does have a name. And he does have a name.
I don't have it in front of me.
Right.
I've got everybody else.
It's called like he referred to his alien species as it sounded like a mithril, which is like, isn't that currency in Lord of the Rings? Well, I know Filoni's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I know his wife Anne is. Wasn't his name like Mithril? Or his species was Mithril, and Mithril is no, it's not currency in the Lord of the Rings. It's that chain. That chain mail that they wear, the mithril. Remember? Don't you remember? It was
no.
Well, that's what the name of this guy is. This guy's like a mithril.
Okay,
is what I. So I think
he was mithrable. We'll just say that he was completely mithrable.
Wow, I'm really surprised.
Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan of this dude. But Ellie, what? So you loved the setting right away. The cantina, spilling the drink. What else stuck out at you that said, "Oh, I can't wait till episode 2, chapter 2"?
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, obviously, what you guys have already talked about with the Baby Yoda. I was like, oh my God, at the end, like, what is happening? Like, this is awesome because people don't know what species Yoda is.
There's going to be a little plushie of that guy, I think. It'll be like a Star Wars Celebration store exclusive. You're going to have to wait 6 hours in line to get it. And when you finally get there, it's going to be sold out. Yeah, little plushie Baby Yoda.
Yes.
I am predicting.
But I like what you guys were saying. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Don't elaborate.
Do
not elaborate at all. Just that is good enough for me.
What
I like
part?
what you guys say. That's my favorite.
No, I want specifics.
Okay. I like what you're saying about reincarnation.
Yes.
Because I think that'd be interesting, especially with Rise of Skywalker. Like something that I thought of right off the bat after hearing the title is like Anakin Skywalker rising, and like, is this hinting at it with Yoda rising before? I don't know, but something to think about and speculate about.
Well, so let me just throw this at you, Ellie. How great, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being, not really anything, 5 being, whoa, major, what kind of impact do you think this series could have, let's just say this season of this series could have on the Star Wars saga as a whole? Do you think it's going to have, like, no real impact, or do you think it's going to have a significant impact?
I think to, have it renewed to a new season and to draw in viewers, like even maybe some viewers who aren't regular Star Wars fans, it has to have some kind of major impact to rope people in. So maybe a 3, maybe right in the middle. Right in the middle.
All right. I appreciate that. I think that's good. I mean, it's already made a huge impact in that it's given us our third species, or our third individual of the species that claims Yoda, perhaps one of the most important characters in the whole saga. So already it's created kind of its own place in the saga.
And I think there's an attitude about that species that they're rare, and obviously for Werner Herzog to be placing a bounty on this, and he wants it back alive, but he's cool with an execution if necessary, which tells me 2 things: that this baby Yoda is an individual that can be either weaponized or could provide a threat to whatever Werner Herzog, as a remnant of the Empire, is trying to pull off. So he's willing to give up the prize, which to me indicates the prize could actually be a threat to what he is trying to accomplish.
Right. And don't forget, there's a medical doctor, Dr. Pershing, who we meet, and he doesn't even want to think about this asset, as they call it, or coming back to them dead.
Right.
He wants this thing alive.
He's a researcher. He wants to figure out what makes this species special, is what I think. And I think what makes this species special is that they have an innate chemical reaction to the Force. Could Yoda's species be these wills we've heard about? I think things we saw with the priestesses in the Clone Wars kind of contradicts that, but you never know. There still has never been a label placed on this specific species, and the only 2 times we've seen this species in the Star Wars universe were 2 members of the Jedi Council. So that indicates to me that this species does have some sort of innate connection to the Force. And of course, Yoda is like the most powerful Jedi Master of all time. But we just want the plushie from the Celebration store, right? I mean, that's what we're really getting at. We just want that in our collection. Maybe. I would like to see more merchandise from the Mandalorian, quite honestly. We've seen very little. And I definitely need a baby Yoda action figure in my... Oh, there's
Mama. Here's Mama.
Yo, Mama. That's no... that is not... No.
Look at her.
No.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let's get to a couple of more here before we got to wrap this up. We're almost twice as long as the episode was. No, we are twice as long as the episode was. This was a shorty. How about we've got Dan in Utah. Go ahead, Dan. You're on with Rebel Force Radio. We are talking Mandalorian Chapter 1.
Hey, how you guys doing?
All right.
Hey, so I was just kind of curious. You guys were just talking about IG-11.
Yes.
And the Mandalorian, when he was given the job, the target was to be taken dead or alive, preferably alive, but IG-11 was to kill the target.
Right.
And I'm curious, do you think they're being hired by the same group, or there are 2 or multiple groups who are after Baby Yoda?
Well, they're both from the same group, right? And I have to say, since they're both being dispatched by Carl Weathers.
Are they?
Well,
do we know that? I mean, he did indicate that there were
nothing
others.
was suggested.
And Nick Nolte's Ugnalt did suggest that there were many others who came there and incited a lot of violence in that area in order to capture this prey. So this has been something that's been going on. Now, IG-11 could have been an older, what do they call it when the guild sends someone out?
A dispatch,
a chit. IG-8's a big piece of shit. And then there's the puck and the chit and the code.
I was trying to. I wrote down a lot of vocabulary
the tracker,
here.
The chit. At one point, I'm pretty sure
puck.
The puck. I have a clip about the puck. Can you just play it? It doesn't need any sort of setup.
Yeah.
Let's see the puck.
Takes a look and shoots it, and he scores! It's 4-3.
Yeah!
Was that
now, we
Gretzky?
know what a huge fan of the NHL Dave Filoni is. So, a big Pittsburgh.
Let's call it a puck. Can we do that?
He lives for it. Yeah, please put a puck in there.
You member of a wolf puck. All right. I'm sorry. We're taking precious time away from Daniel. Daniel. You still there?
Yeah, but that's really I'm still here. That was really kind of my question as I was watching. I think obviously the Baby Yoda is going to be central to where at least this first season is going. And I thought, well, are we going to start to run into multiple different groups who are then going to be coming after the Mandalorian, trying to reclaim this prize?
Here's what I think.
Where is he going to go?
I think that Herzog dispatched. I think Herzog's character hired both. Clearly, he wants this thing either in a lab under the supervision of Dr. Pershing or dead. And I get a sense that he would prefer it to be dead. So I think he's hedging his bets, and he hired both. One with the cooperation of Pershing and one outside of his knowledge. And one way or the other, it's dead or alive. And he's going to hire two of the best from Grief Karga. And I don't know if Karga knows. You get a sense the way Carl Weathers is playing the role. I get a sense that he knows a lot more than he's putting on. I think he's like, he's making excuses about his lack of funds and all of this stuff. I think the guy, he knows a lot more than he's letting on.
I would agree. And I think you don't bring in somebody like Carl Weathers for a quick bit and then done. I think he's a much bigger player in this, and especially given that he's been on all these celebrity panels. I think he'll have a lot bigger role to play throughout the series.
Cast
he does have marquee value. A guy like that among film goers, especially among film goers who consider themselves original Star Wars fans. We know Carl Weathers. We know him really well. We know him from the Rocky movies. We know him from the Predator film and whatever else he did. Yeah. So,
all right. Hey, Dan, thanks very much.
Action Jackson.
Appreciate it, bud.
Let's
try to get a couple more of these. We've got, I think this is, let's go with Evan. Hello, Evan from Maryland. You're on with Rebel Force Radio.
Yeah, hey, guys. Hey, guys, how are you?
Hey,
Great.
Evan.
Hey, I just want to, I don't know if you remember or not, I just want to say I am the proud owner of Jimmy's favorite Snoke theory. If you remember a couple episodes back, that's me. But anyway,
what was the theory? What's the Snoke theory?
Remember, he was that he was one of the Emperor's Royal Guards and that whole bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one.
I do like that.
Anyway, guys, I just want to. Can I just do a really super fast rant, really quick?
Go.
Okay, so I just want to tell you guys a little bit about me. I was born in '76. In '77, I was too young to remember this, but my mom's friend, who was a teacher, took me to see episode 4, and I got stuck in the seat in the theater because I was too small.
Oh.
Okay. Fast forward to 83. My dad took me to see Return of the Jedi, and I remember when Luke did the backflip and everybody went nuts. And the reason I'm telling you about this is because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I've never been as excited as I was tonight watching The Mandalorian. I watched it twice, and I am absolutely like the feels, guys. I can't even describe it to you. Like, it felt like OT. It was so good, and like I felt like you've got elements of like. I felt like even there's elements of like Iron Man 1. You felt both Favreau and Filoni in this so good, and like just the pacing of it was fantastic. You know, I mean, I loved the opening, and you guys are right. It was like, you know, George, going back to what George's vision was with the samurai films and the westerns, and we got that tonight. Got that. Like, as an OT fan, you know, and I love the prequels, I love the sequels, but as an OT fan, like, I just felt like I was like harking back to my childhood watching this.
Well,
and I just thought it was absolutely fantastic.
It definitely checked off a lot of the right boxes. And I've heard a lot of Star Wars fans desire many of the things that get provided in The Mandalorian, only to be told, shut up, that's just fan service. Well, I got news for you. Fan service done right equals a great Star Wars experience. No one is asking to be hit over the head with nothing but memories of the past and nostalgia of images from prior films.
Hey, we did not get I have a bad feeling about this line in this, which is kind of
well,
nice.
that's
You're right.
I mean,
You're
it's kind of
right.
that's kind of a character specific sort of thing.
But we did get.
we got it all throughout the Clone Wars.
The tropes.
Yeah,
that
but you know what we got?
was-
You know, we got the original. Did you guys pick up on this? We got the original Ben Burt sound effects of the Falcon stalling out.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, the hyperdrive malfunction.
You know,
and the carbon freezing chamber.
Yes, we got so much. And I just want to say, you know what? After seeing this, and I know it's only one episode, and maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, and this is a bold statement, but after seeing this tonight, I don't need a Boba Fett film.
I think there are things about
taking
the legacy and legend of Boba Fett that do need to be put to rest. And I think The Mandalorian is a great place to do that. But there is a great job that Favreau and Filoni are doing, at least in this first episode, of capturing that Boba Fett archetype and turning him into something probably greater than Boba Fett's ever been. I mean, when I watch The Mandalorian, I feel like I'm watching like Batman as a Mandalorian or something. You know,
absolutely.
It had this like anti-hero / superhero kind of thing to it. And you know what I absolutely love, guys, and I don't know if you touched on this or not, but I love that he doesn't have the little targeting scope on his helmet.
Oh, I didn't notice that either. Yeah, he's missing.
I love that
rangefinder.
Right.
That's
right.
Yeah. And the helmet on the girl that was putting together the armor for him, the blacksmith. Yeah,
that was great. Oh, that was such a great.
That was cool. But it was a very different take on the T visor. It was it almost looked like
Katie Sackhoff's character from the Clone Wars. She had that similar owl sort of look.
Okay, all right.
That seems to be to indicate that is a female Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That and the breasts.
Giveaways.
I didn't notice that. Jimmy, but I'll have to go back and watch it a third time.
Yeah, the sort of owl-shaped T-visor is definitely something that Katie Sackhoff's character had back in the Clone Wars. What was the name of her character? Does anyone remember? Katie Sackhoff.
I thought it was Bo-Katan. Yes.
Bo-Katan. But Bo-Katan.
Guys, one last thing, if I may, guys, because I know you got plenty of people, and I appreciate you taking my call. As far as the music goes, one thing I just want to say. By the way, Jason, thank you for following me on Instagram. I don't think you know that you do, but you do, and thank you for that. But
you must have done something interesting on there. What did you do?
Well, I took a screen grab of the fact that you guys had me on your show, and everybody at my work was freaking out. And then they were like, "That's a great." Yeah. They were like, "That's a great Snoke theory," and I'm like, "Why do you know that?" And they were like, so it's great. So
that's
I worked
all right. I
remember
now. Yeah.
I worked for Apple, so I came into work the next day, and everybody was like, "That's a great thing." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Yeah, we saw it." I'm like, "Whatever."
Oh, you work for
But
Apple.
anyway, I just want to say,
all right. Well, you give me your number.
Yeah,
here.
but one of the things I wanted to say that I thought was really cool about the music was, so for me, I'm a big music guy. I love classic rock and synthesizers, and I have all the stuff. But one thing I wanted to say that I thought was really interesting that we have not got that we got in The Mandalorian is the music is partially comprised of like analog synthesizers and actual classical orchestral music, and I thought that was absolutely brilliant the way that they did that. I feel like it gives it a kind of it harkens back to the maestro John Williams, but then it also brings this new breed of like, space Western music made by synthesizers. And I think it's just like what they're doing is just fantastic. If they stay on target. I think it's just going to be fantastic. And guys, I'm so stoked.
Awesome.
Like,
dude, your enthusiasm is so infectious. And I got to tell you, I'm with you 100%. I am so excited about this series. It didn't let me down at all. It exceeded my expectations, and I saw it on the face of my kids. I've got an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old, both boy and girl, and both of them said they cannot wait until Friday. So I'm one happy Star Wars dad.
That is what it should be. That is what it should be. That is what George envisioned it to be. It's done this job. It's about carrying it down through tradition. So, guys, thank you so much for taking my call. I appreciate
Thank you, buddy.
it. You guys are so
Stay in
great.
touch.
I love listening to you. May the force be with you guys.
And you.
Thank you.
I think we've got time for we'll just squeeze in a couple more here. Got Kansas City. I think Kansas City is on the line with us.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey there, guys. How you doing?
Hey.
This is Ethan. I'm actually in Phoenix now, not Kansas City. But
all right.
Fine.
All right.
Were you ever in
Kansas
City before?
What now?
Were you ever in Kansas City before?
Yeah, I grew up in Kansas City.
Aha.
Cell phones, they follow you everywhere.
Yes. And do you know Eric? Because we got a pal over there in Phoenix named Eric. Do you know him?
Phoenix, no, I don't know Eric, but I hear him every time, and I think, oh man, I wonder where that guy is.
Get to know him.
But no, I wanted to just call in and say how just awesome The Mandalorian was. My wife and I sat down and watched it this evening, and she's a big fan of Baby Yoda. She just was, she's sitting here giggling right now just thinking about it.
Gobsmacked, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, I thought my daughter was just going to jump to the TV and grab that little thing. He did kind of look like a Funko Pop too. He kind of looked like the Funko version.
He did. He actually kind of looks exactly like the Yoda Funko Pop. But then also it's an overwhelming thought that I kind of had at the end. The end credits came up, and the very first thing it says is directed by Dave Filoni, and how oddly proud I think I was of that.
Right.
Because I think for us fans that, really pay attention to everything that's going on, we've been kind of following Dave for a while, and to see him really get this big chance in live action and everything is really awesome.
I'm glad,
and the fact that it just knocked it out of the park.
I'm so glad
better.
you brought that up because Dave, whether he realizes it or not, or cares to admit to it or not, Dave Filoni has a real strong connection to our history as Star Wars podcasters. You know, there was definitely a symbiotic relationship between Dave and the Clone Wars and early days of the Forcecast that was a predecessor to Rebel Force Radio. And, you know, having the opportunity to have a guy like Dave on the show multiple times a year, every year for several years, was an incredible honor. And at the same time, it also, I think, gave Dave a direct connection to Star Wars fans. And we did shows where we'd have Dave on the line and he would take live calls. I mean, and we always used to kind of, you know, say, hey, maybe what if? Can you imagine a Dave Filoni, you know, Star Wars movie or a TV show? So that pride that you're talking about, I get it. It's not. It comes from a place of we watched Dave's career grow as, you know, as the keeper of the flame, and we supported him. We supported the Clone Wars. We supported Rebels, and to see him in this position is huge. It's huge.
And I think the best part kind of about it is that not only do I think that we feel that way, but it's looking more and more that those at Lucasfilm see him that way. I mean, recently there was that Vanity Fair article from Anthony Bresnikan that went pretty deep into it, and Kathy Kennedy had the quote in there saying that there's not really anything story related going on there that she doesn't talk to him about.
Well, we know Dave was brought in as this original core group of consultants for The Force Awakens. Even before they brought in J.J. Abrams, we know that Dave Filoni was part of this group. And I think that group has kind of stayed together throughout this entire process. And Filoni's status has certainly risen over the years. There was a period of time in 2013 when Filoni thought he was going to be fired. Everyone he saw working around him at Lucas Animation was losing their jobs. And Dave and a core group of creatives were kept on board. And that was probably the single smartest thing that the new regime did in those early days, was not blow out everyone. And keeping Dave Filoni around is smart to do because he is a direct connection to the George Lucas method of filmmaking. Now, of course, we know that there's been periods in time throughout this new Disney era of Star Wars where George Lucas's opinion didn't really amount to squat. And that caused George to walk away. But I think a lot of that stuff has come full circle now.
At least they listen to, you know, seems that they listen to Dave, which in a lot of ways may be almost just as, well, some ways may be just as good as listening to George.
Let me ask you, was there something in this series when you got the feels when you saw the credit directed by Dave Filoni? What was the thing that jumped out at you as the most Filonian kind of thing that he might have brought to the show? What was it?
Well, like just all the little details, you know, like, you know, things like, you know, the monkey lizard on a spit and the other one in the cage looking at, you know, looking in horror at what's happening. And, you know, just like little touches like that.
That is something that Dave would have put in the Clone Wars. You can just tell. That was a very Filoni Clone Wars kind of moment.
There is a moment with the Mandalorian when he jumps behind that floating cannon, that blaster cannon, and he jumps onto it, and it's not facing in the direction of the opponents that he wants to shoot. He has to wait for it to spin around under the force of his jumping on it. So there's a moment where that blaster rifle spins around while the Mandalorian is holding it, getting ready to unleash the arsenal on the other people shooting at him. And that, to me, feels like a Dave Filoni moment. Just that quick little beat of that floating blaster cannon, spinning around to bring in his quarry into range. Little touches like that, little appreciation of the things that I brought up earlier in the show that Akira Kurosawa brought to cinema, I see on display in this film. And I've seen Dave Filoni pull that off in the past.
I've seen a lot. Yeah, and like just the way that, just the show, certain like just shots in general, like all of the, any shot of like the Razor Crest, how that, and flying through and everything, it all just felt, just the whole thing felt very Western. And that, there's, it's hard to, attribute that specifically to Dave. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that go in there, but I know that that's,
well, Dave knows the alchemy. The thing about
exactly.
Dave knows the alchemy of Star Wars. Not just he doesn't have to ape Star Wars. Which I'll be honest, I think some of the sequel trilogy stuff is aping Star Wars as opposed to going back, deconstructing Star Wars and understanding what the building blocks of it are.
It's so funny that you say it that way because with Disney Plus coming out, obviously, all the other movies are on there and they're there in 4K. And I haven't ever seen it in that presentation before. So I went back and just for giggles, threw on the opening of episode 3 and, just to see how that all looked. And I sat and thought to myself, there's nothing in the sequels that, obviously, we haven't had, I don't think, opportunity for something that big in the sequels. It's looking like we will in Rise of Skywalker, but just how much is going on in each shot to look at.
Yeah.
But in the sequels, everything just looks so empty. But in the, just in this little 40 minutes of The Mandalorian, there's just so much to look at. Everything's so dense.
Yeah.
I feel like I could watch it a couple more times and find more things that I didn't see before.
Jimmy watched it 5 times.
I did.
You're still seeing
and
new
each
things.
time, I find my eyes darting around the screen, just like I did when I would go to the theaters to see original trilogy and prequel trilogy films. I'm soaking in that detail because it's all so important. It all fleshes out this whole universe. And I'm so happy to see that a lot of it is back. It's back. I thought it was gone forever. I really did. Looking at the J.J. and Rian Johnson films, I thought it was gone forever. Here it is. It's back. Even the Solo in Rogue One. We love those films, right?
Yep.
But to have all of these elements, these Star Wars elements that bring us into that universe, I mean, you just need it there.
I think Rogue One was the closest to that so far, but
yes,
I agree. I agree. It's by far the best Star Wars film of the new era. I'm willing to say that it's the best film of the new era.
My original review of Rogue One was I thought it was the best Star Wars film since Return of the Jedi. Just on pure Star Warsness,
right?
The purity of it.
I'm a prequel kid, so I think the Revenge of the Sith could go in there.
I know. I have pulled back on that statement a little bit. That was my initial rush. Was wow, this feels the most Star Wars since Return of the Jedi. But no, that's so funny you bring that up because I did find myself watching some Revenge of the Sith today on Disney Plus. And wow, what a great film that is. And surprisingly, out of all of the prequel films, I think Revenge of the Sith is the one that I've watched the least in its completion. I definitely know. Yeah, well, it's not really because it keeps giving. I throw it on, I stumble across it on cable TV or whatever. It's just like, oh, Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, let's jump in. And I find that maybe I'm not as familiar with that film as I am the 2 other prequels. And so it keeps giving back to me because I think it is probably pound for pound, the superior of all three prequel films. Revenge of the Sith is probably the best film. But Episode 1 remains my personal favorites, out of my emotional favorite out of the three. That's the one. However, I can't deny that I think Revenge of the Sith is probably the best of the three. Pound for pound, I say.
Hey man,
but my
thank you.
Favorite is
thank you so
Well,
much.
thank
We
you
gotta.
guys. I gotta get. Well, I was gonna get up anyway. I gotta get my little.
It sounds like you got a baby Yoda back there of your own.
Yeah, he's one, so I gotta get him to sleep.
Congratulations! All right, my friend. Thanks for hanging with us. Appreciate it. We're gonna wrap things up here. We'll be back, of course. Just on Friday. Oh man, that's crazy.
Yes, I'm looking forward to Friday.
I am too. We lost our. Let's get that music back on.
Yeah, that happens now.
Every once in a while. There it is. All right. Well,
There
we really appreciate all of you joining us this week. This is just one of 2 episodes of the Rebel Force Radio Mandalorian After Show that we're going to be bringing to you, since we get a double feature premiere. And I've got my vocabulary words, set out here: Beskar, bounty puck, chit, tracking fob, chain code.
Yeah. Don't forget
tube,
Comptono. It was Werner Herzog who said he would give the Mandalorian a Comptono of Beskar.
Oh.
And a Comptono is actually the name of the item that Wilro Hood is spotted running through the hallways of Bespin's Cloud City holding. It's not an ice cream machine. It's a Comptono.
All right. There you go. That's the kind of stuff you're only going to get right here, Rebel Force Radio. Appreciate it very much. We'll be back next week with another episode of course, Mandalorian After Show. But we've got episode 2 coming up later on this week. Also next week, a new episode of Rebel Force Radio. So make sure you're checking out all of the latest from RFR at rebelforceradio.com and our social media channels on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So appreciate it very much. For Rebel Force Radio, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Even though bounty hunting is a complicated profession,